Here's some homework help for lesson 7.5. I'm on pages 504 and 505. And let's start with this number 10. Hopefully number 10 will help you with 7 through 9. We're told that x varies directly as y. So right away I'm going to go ahead and write a general direct variation statement. X varies directly with y. Remember, that means multiplication by some number that we call the constant of variation, known as k. Alright, I'm starting here, and now I'm going to use the given information that's provided for me on number 10 to find out what k actually is for this particular problem. So I'm going to let -4 replace x, I'm going to let 10 replace y, and I'm going to solve for k. So I'm going to divide by 10 on both sides and reduce. And I know what k is now, so I'm going to take this general equation and I'm going to make it a specific equation. And now that I have a specific equation, it's pretty easy to come up with the answer. Find x when y is 8. So I just plug in 8 for y and do the math. And I end up with -16/5. And if you use your calculator, that should be -3 1/5, or -3.2 if you just do -16 divided by 5. So I would actually take either one of these answers. If you left it in fraction form, that would be fine. Or if you used your calculator to get the decimal form, that would be okay. Okay, our next problem is this word problem, number 11. Neil Armstrong, who was the first man on the moon, weighed 360 pounds on Earth, but only weighed 60 pounds on the moon. And we're supposed to write an equation that relates his weight on the moon to the weight on the Earth. Well, this is direct variation, because as his weight on the Earth increases, his weight on the moon would also increase. It's just by a fraction. So they are both moving in the same direction, which is basically the definition of what direct variation means. So I'm going to start off with a direct variation. Well, I'll use the variables that they use. Relates moon weight with Earth weight. Alright, so direct variation means that we're always multiplying by this number called k. So let's see if we can find out what k is. Earth weight is 360. And that's what W refers to. Moon weight is 60. And that's what M, of course, refers to. Solving for K, I divide by 360 on both sides. And reducing, I get K is 1/6. And now I just replace K with 1/6. And I got my answer, because all this wants is an equation that relates the weight of the moon to the weight on the Earth. And it's really just an exercise in finding k. And so that is my answer for number 11. Okay, jumping down to the next block of problems that you had to do, number 15. These are joint variation. So once again, I'm going to take this first sentence and just write out in general what it means in equation form. A varies jointly. Remember, that's multiplication by k times 2 or more variables, in this case B and C. So that's my equation in general. And I'm going to take the information provided here in number 15. Notice they give me A, B, and C, everything but k. So let's use all of these numbers to solve for k, then we'll come back and answer the question. So A is 24. We're going to solve for k. B is 8. C is 12. Alright, so doing a little multiplication here, we have 24 is equal to 96k. dividing by 96 on both sides, we end up with k, and I think I'm just going to put this in decimal form. 24 divided by 96. Grabbing my calculator here, 24 divided by 96 is 0.25. Or you could have said k is 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to take my general statement and I'm going to make it specific, knowing that k now is 0.25. Okay, and it's this blue equation, now that I've identified k, that will help me answer the final or the ultimate question. What is a if we replace b with 4 and c with -3? B is 4, C is -3, and so you can basically grab your calculator if you need it, but it's -12 divided by 4, and so we end up with our answer. A is -3. All right, very good. Let's try in the next block of problems. I just picked out number 19. This is inverse variation. So once again, I'm just going to take this first phrase and I'm going to write it in terms of inverse variation between f and g. F varies inversely. That means k is the numerator and g will be the denominator. Inverse variation always implies division into our constant of variation. So once again, normal routine, we'll take the values for f and g so that we can know exactly what k is for this problem. So f is -12 and g is 19. So if you need to grab your calculator, we're going to multiply by 19 on both sides. -12 times 19 is -228. So my specific equation for this problem will be f is equal to -228 divided by g. And now to find f, I've got it set up to find f. I just replace g with -6, and I'll have my answer, -228 divided by -6. All right, let's see what that is, and that's 38. So my answer for number 19 is 38. Great. Let's move on. Another word problem. Top of page 505, number 22. When a group of snow geese migrate, the distance that they fly varies directly. So you need to be good at these word problems. You will be seeing some of these on your test. So if you had to rely on this video, make sure you can go back and do this on your own without looking. Varies directly, of course, means multiplication by our constant of variation, k. So let's see. Write a direct variation equation that represents this situation. They didn't give a specific variable, so I'm just going to use x and y. Y varies directly with x, and y is going to be the distance they fly, and that will be determined by how much time they are in the air, which will be x. Okay, so we need to find out again what k is so that we can come up with a specific equation to model this situation. So remember, y is the distance they fly, which in this case, letter A, is 375 miles. And the amount of time they're in the air is x, and that will be 7.5. Okay, solving for k, grab our calculator, and we're going to divide both sides by 7.5, so 375 divided by 7.5 is 50. So that's our k value. And so our direct variation equation to model this situation will be y equals 50 times x. All right, very good. And so let's take a look at letter B. Every year they migrate 3,000 miles from their winter home to their summer home in the Canadian Arctic. Estimate the number of flying hours estimate the number of hours of flying time that it takes for the geese to migrate. So the number of hours again is X, and they're going 3,000 miles. Miles in this case will be Y. So we'll replace Y with 3,000. We know what K is, and we're basically solving for X. So we take 3,000 and we divide by 50. And we get 60. So it's the number of hours of flying, so we would put that in context, 60 hours of flying time. Okay, very good. That wasn't too bad. So let's keep on moving. Here's number 23. This is a combined variation problem. Notice A varies directly with B, and it also varies inversely with C. So let's just set it up. First of all, A varies directly as B. That would look like this. A equals K times B. And then it also varies inversely as C. So all we have to do is take what we've written here and show division by C. Inverse variation means divide. Direct variation means to multiply by K. Okay, ultimately we're supposed to find B given these values for A and C, but we first need to find out what K is in this problem. And these values for these variables will help us. Remember, we're given everything except for K. That should be a clue. That's going to help you find K. Alright, so A is 8, B is 12, C is 3, multiply by 3 on both sides, divide by 12 on both sides, and now I know what K is, and now I can write a specific equation. A is equal to 2B over C. Alright, and now it's pretty simple then to find out what B is, given that A is 5, and C is negative 4. Okay, multiply by negative 4 on both sides, divide by 2 on both sides, and we have B is negative 10. No problem. All right, I didn't do one of these in your notes. I did talk about direct inverse variation and what they look like. So let me just do number 25, and then hopefully you'll be able to do 26 and 27. Just a quick review. Direct variation means y equals some number k times x, and k is always found by doing y over x. Inverse variation is division, and the way we find k is we multiply. Okay, so keep that in mind. Here's direct variation, here's inverse variation. If you're looking at a table, basically just ask yourself this question. How do you find k? If you do multiplication, like we'll start with inverse variation. K means you multiply x and y together. If I multiply these together, do I get the same result every time? 4 times 12 is 48. Well, 8 times 24 is not 48. So I don't have inverse variation. If I did, I should be able to multiply x and y together and get the same result every time. That's what k is. Okay, well let's do the division, y over x. If I divide y over x, I get 3. 24 divided by 8, I get 3. I get 3 again. I get 3 again. 96 divided by 32. So every time I do division y over x, I get the same result. So what I've proven here is that k is arrived at by doing y over x, so that means I have direct variation for number 25. So look at how k is arrived at. Are you multiplying x and y together and getting the same result? If you are, then you've got inverse variation. Are you dividing y over x to get the same result every time? If that happens, then you've got direct. If you can't do either one and get the same result for k every time, then you've got neither direct or inverse. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Just follow my pattern here, and it's all about k, really. If you're looking at a set of ordered pairs called a relation, how do you determine k, that constant, that same number that appears either by multiplication, which would involve inverse variation, or division, which would involve direct variation. Okay. All right, my last one. This is another combined variation problem. Suppose x varies directly as y. Okay, here's what that means. I just interpreted this first phrase using an equation, and x also varies inversely as z. Alright, so we've taken this whole first sentence and we've turned it into an equation. Ultimately, we're supposed to find out what z is given values for x and y, but before I can do that, I got to find out what k is. And these three variable values will lead me to k. Alright, so let's substitute. X is 8, looking for k, y is 13, and z is 26. Okay, I'm going to multiply 26 on both sides, so calculator time, 26 times 8, that's 208. Dividing by 13 on both sides, 208 divided by 13 is 16. Okay, so I have a specific equation that applies to this problem. I just found out what k is and I replaced it. Okay, now I'm going to use this to help me answer the question. What is z if we replace x with 8 and y with -6? Okay, so 8 is 16 times -6, and I'm trying to find out what z is. So I'm going to multiply by z on both sides. 16 times -6 should be -96. 8z is -96, and dividing by 8 on both sides, I get z is -12. Alright, so hopefully by doing that sampling, that will help you with all of the other problems that you were asked to do. And if you have any questions, let me know on Tuesday.